Hi, welcome back to Midnight Mayhem. Today we're going to be talking about a underrated horror film. Not a lot of people have heard about it. Kind of indie, I guess you can say. But
It's not indie. It's not indie.
Before we get into it, let's start off with our introductions.
I'm Bobby, and I love horror.
I'm Leo, and I love movies.
And I'm Raymond, the other guy. So what are we talking about today, Leo?
We're talking about The Shining.
I've never heard of it.
My favorite horror movie. One of my favorite horror movies. Came out in 1980, directed by Stanley Kubrick. A lot of people hated it in the very beginning, but over time it's turned into like a cult classic. But man, so you've seen it?
Yeah, it's a classic.
Okay, I want to try something real quick.
Okay.
Cousin, how many times have you watched The Shining?
In total, my lifetime, 4 times.
Okay, I've seen The Shining a total of 1 time. Leo?
I've seen it about 10 times.
10 times? I was expecting like close to 40s, but yeah.
Well,
the way you talked about the movie, I
well,
was like
10 times, like probably
throughout.
throughout, like completely. Like if it's on TV, I'll turn it on. Like if it's like showing halfway, I'll turn it on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like 10 times that I sat down and I'm like, I'm gonna specifically watch The Shining, and I think 4 of those 10 times were in theaters.
Yeah, see, I would watch it in theaters because I feel like that would be a unique experience.
Yeah.
But I saw it on TV initially, and then just a few times throughout my life. But I was already like into like mid-teens, I would say, like 16, 17 at that point.
Yeah.
And I had already watched all the traditional slashers, so this was like night and day.
Something,
yeah.
So a little more supernatural.
But I'll let you go off, and then we'll go into it.
Yeah, for the 2 people who haven't seen the movie, give us a little background. What is the movie about?
So the movie's about this guy named Jack and his family, his wife and his 1 kid. He gets hired to take care of the Overlook Hotel.
Overlook Hotel.
Overlook.
What did I say?
Outlook.
Outlook. Oh yeah.
You seen this movie 10 times?
I think so.
Okay.
You got it.
The subtitles were off in his defense.
it was the dub.
What is it? What do you speak? What do you speak in your
Spanish.
language?
It was Spanish dub. Yeah, I got the
I was
Spanish.
gonna say Spanish. I was like, is there a
I got the
separate
Spanish
dialect, or
dub.
am I being racist?
Outlook.
Overlook.
What did I say?
Outlook.
It's all good.
I don't think he actually likes this movie, guys.
So what happens? In this movie?
He gets hired to take care of the Overlook,
There we go.
and his job is to stay there for the winter, the entirety of the winter, just to like maintain the hotel. Just keep machineries running, keep them from freezing over.
Yeah, because they have horrible winters.
Exactly, just terrible winters. And since they have terrible winters, they're going to be trapped in not really trapped, but obviously they're going to be living in the hotel until winter is over, until pretty much like the roads clear off. And long story short, he starts losing his mind while he's there. And as they call, cabin fever.
Yeah. There was actually a few things, like they were just like rattling some stuff off, and I was like, oh, that's the title of another horror movie. And I don't know, I was just like, oh, did they just hear that and be like, oh, that's a good name for a movie? Like
Cabin fever?
Cabin fever. They say cabin fever at the beginning, and they say ghost ship. Both
Oh,
referring
yeah,
to
yeah.
referring to the hotel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They probably didn't. Well, they inspired a lot of stuff. This is like the pedestal of cinematography and filmmaking. Like, there's a reason why this is so loved. But I'll let you finish it before I even get into that. So descent into madness.
Yeah,
with his family.
Jack starts descending into madness, but in the meantime, his son Danny, he has a gift, this special ability that he can. They call it the Shining, where he can. What do you think he can do? Like, because I have a lot of.
I'll go for it. You're the first time viewer I've watched.
Oh yeah.
I know all this stuff.
So what did you get from the Shining?
Like,
The
what is
movie or
what is
the-
what is
the
ability?
The ability to shine.
Basically just telepathy and future sight. That's what I got out of it.
Okay, I mean that's not that bad.
I would also add like ability to see the afterlife, like people from the afterlife.
Well, we'll get to that point in a bit, because
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. So then. That's it, right?
So you get introduced to the cook. What's his name again?
Dick Halloran.
Dick
Halloran,
Halloran.
yeah.
There you go. So he introduces Dick Halloran, who he gives a family. While Jack is talking to the manager, he gives the mom and Danny a tour of just like the kitchen, and it's like, oh, this is where you guys, this is where we're gonna keeping the food and everything. And as he's talking, he's looking at Danny, and then you can tell that he's telepathically speaking to Danny, and Danny is understanding him. So then, as an audience member, you find out that
yeah, because I was watching it and I was like, okay, the kid's weird and psychic, right? And then there's a couple other things where like you start seeing stuff ahead of time, like you see the elevator. Like pretty early on, which I thought was gonna be like way later in the movie.
Yeah, me too.
And I saw that, I was just like, "Hey, Kool-Aid," like all the water shits out, but they don't really explain it. They just show that.
Yeah.
And then later they're talking about the Overlook Hotel, how it was built like early on. I think they said 1902. And it was built on an Indian burial ground, and they had to like excavate a bunch of stuff. They were fighting off
they
like
make
Indians
that,
while
they make that very clear.
Yeah,
like,
while they were fighting off during construction.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the things I thought I that was weird about the movie for me was the weird like jarring time skips.
Yeah, that's intentional.
Like out of nowhere.
Like Monday, Tuesday.
It was like Monday. It was like 1 p.m. and it was like 1 month later, and I was just like, whoa. It's like, I'm getting dizzy.
Okay.
Just watching
It's meant to feel disorienting because it's like as if you were there with them for like that blink of time just went by and you're just like, what the heck?
Because you remember that they get there and it's like it's sunny, it's like it almost looks like spring, and you gotta, there needs to be some time where it's like the place is just like overrun with snow, so I can see that where it's like a month later, a week later, Monday, Tuesday,
And Jack's descent into madness takes place after 5 months of being there.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. I after reviewing the movie, I was like, oh, it was 5 month period before he started like really like losing it. So I don't know, but apparently there it's long. But I'll get more into that later. So that concludes. Like that's the gist of it. If you don't, I'm sure you've seen references to it because that's my big thing about this movie.
I mean, just watched the movie like a few days ago, and I was like, I've seen so many references to this movie, and
it's crazy, right?
Stuff. I'm like, I almost feel like I've seen the movie before.
Because before we started recording, I was talking about like, there's references I want to make to the sequel of this movie, but I was like, there's no way to not see references for this movie in particular, because as a child, I saw references. My first introduction to The Shining was literally the Simpsons episode.
The Treehouse of Horror.
The Treehouse of
Horror.
Horror.
Very first Treehouse of Horror.
Don't mind if I do. The Homer Simpson.
The one I think of is
Stewie?
The Family Guy.
Yeah. Stewie, which one?
He's riding a strike and then he sees the twins.
Oh, yeah.
But like,
I
already had an idea of like these iconic scenes because of just regular media. Like, so when I went into this movie when I was younger, I was like, all right, let's see what the hype is. And then I watched it and I was like, all right, that was the hype.
That's like, okay, understandable.
Not bad.
So, all right. I'm curious. So, first time watcher and favorite movie. So, we got two opposite opinions. Two different viewing perspectives. Viewing experiences. Yeah. So
my first viewing experience was actually in I'll go first.
Go ahead.
I know as I started talking. No, my first viewing experience with this was actually in college, man. Because I mean, I always seen parts of it. I'm like, oh yeah,
that's crazy.
I know,
15 years ago.
I know. No, and
no, but you're an adult at that point, so like.
No, I know, and it's like I always caught like glimpses of The Shining. I'm like, okay, yeah, like when you see a movie parts by parts, like you think you're like, you kind of put it together in your head. You're like, I basically seen it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't until like I was taking a film history class, and we were going through obviously like the 1900s, and then once we got to the like 1980s, this was the first movie on that list, and I was like, okay, cool, like
I've heard good things about
this.
I
heard good things about this movie, and but it was completely different from what I had in mind. Because I was like, I thought I saw the whole thing. Because, I've seen like a little bit of the beginning. I saw a little bit of the middle. I saw, obviously when it goes crazy, I saw the ending. Yeah. Pretty much, None of it made sense. But in my head, it kind of did, because I put it together.
Yeah, like you saw the scenes and you're like, okay, like, well, this makes sense if this happened before this.
Exactly. And at that time, I was, I had an obsession with Stanley Kubrick. And I'm like, it's kind of crazy because, like, I was, starting to learn more and more about film. And and I've seen other Stanley Kubrick movies, and I'm like, yo, this guy's crazy. Like the way he shoots certain scenes, the way he portrays characters. I'm like, I don't know why I haven't seen The Shining. So when I had that opportunity to see it in class, I was like, oh yeah, I'm all in. And it was fun because like it was a small class of like, I don't know, 13 people, and like everybody was just knocked out asleep in the class, and I was just like zoned in, like 100% invested. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I've never seen this.
Now I don't think it matters too much. What time was the class? Was it like a morning class?
No, it was a morning class.
Okay, that makes sense.
I wasn't thinking it was like a 7 to 10 class.
No. It was yeah. I don't blame him. It was a morning class, So, but
plus, good movie.
Yeah,
pretty slow.
Of course. Oh,
Crazy.
yeah.
I don't blame him for falling asleep.
No,
if you're gonna watch the movie, take a cup of coffee or
watch it in like segments.
Make a day of it. Yeah.
No, yeah, and then so I finished watching that, and I was like, this is amazing. Like right off the bat, I was like, I need to see this again. Luckily for me, one of my friends was like, hey, they're gonna have a special showing of The Shining at the Dome, the Hollywood, the ArcLight in Hollywood.
Okay. Oh.
That's
cool.
Yeah, and they were gonna show it in the Dome. The Dome is like this screen where it's like it's curved.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, I'm 100% down to see it. I think it was like the 40th anniversary of the movie at the time, or the 35. I can't really do the math.
35th probably.
35th
or 30th.
No, not 30th.
It's been a while.
I know, but
the movie is what, 32 years old right now? 33?
No, dude.
43. I mean.
I'm almost 33.
As of recording, I think it's like 43 years old right now.
Yeah, something like that. So
maybe the 35th.
35th anniversary. Yeah, and it was like a remastered. It was everything remastered, like the
they
sound.
Have an orchestra playing.
No, oh my god, and like,
and
it was, I know it would have been, but I went to see it in the theater and I loved it. I was like, oh my god, this was meant to be seen in the theaters. Some time passed in, and then I just, I bought it on Blu-ray, saw it a bunch of times there, and then I saw it like 3 more times in theaters when they had like a special re-release version. They had another like just like a rescreening of it, just like randomly.
Did they do like the Shining version where like the mouths don't move but you still hear the audio?
So then, what in particular did you like about the movie then? Like, what exactly makes it your favorite? Like, so I understand your first viewing experience.
Mm-hmm.
Understand it now. Actually, it makes a lot of sense because as a teenager, I was just like, man, this is dragging.
Oh yeah, no, I thought
as an adult, I'm just like, I can have more appreciation for it.
Because when you first get into horror, you're like, where's the murder? I want to see bodies hit
the
floor.
Exactly.
Yeah, like Friday the 13th
yeah.
and Nightmare on Elm, you're like gore fest or like all kinds of stuff. So
especially if you're always hearing that this movie is like, oh, it's the greatest horror movie ever.
Yeah,
so you're expecting, you're like, oh my god, this now beats like The Exorcist. You know what I mean? So it doesn't. Like it's its own thing.
Yeah.
It's. I feel like this is the most suspenseful movie that I've seen. It's not like the scariest, obviously, you know what I mean? But there's definitely some tense moments.
It's extreme dread.
It's dread,
you can
yeah.
feel it. Like, even as rewatching the movie, I was like, damn, this is just like so.
But do you feel like you feel that way because you know what it's leading up to? Like, imagine you're watching it first time, you don't have any kind of reference to this movie at all. And you're watching it and you're just kind of like, does it feel dreadful because you know what's going to happen, or do you think it feels dreadful just the way they have everything set up?
Well, every single time that I watch it, it feels dreadful because it's like, well, one, it's like the soundtrack.
Yeah, but the soundtrack
know what's happening.
Is on point.
I know what's happening. I know exactly what's coming up. But the soundtrack is on point. Like the emptiness of the hotel. Like you hear
even the opening shot, just like that single yellow bug, just like driving. It goes so empty.
And you hear the soundtrack in the background, scored by Wendy Carlos. It's just playing like these like ominous like tones, and it's just it's insane, man. It's insane. There's actually get this, dude. I wrote a paper on this in college. It was crazy. That's how obsessed I was with this movie. The tone of the soundtrack of the movie. It's called The
Shining.
No. There's a name for it. Riard Diaz or something like that, which is pretty much like a tonal, a certain tone that they used to use in funerals in the 1300s in Catholic funerals. Obviously, when they had orchestra like singing in funerals and stuff.
Yeah.
They had the tone of like like bum bum bum
So
bum.
you're saying the soundtrack is stolen?
No.
No.
It's a certain thing where it goes like it goes. The tone of it goes up, 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 down, down, up, down, up. You know, it's like a certain pattern.
Yeah.
And they use this in a lot of movies. They use it in The Lion King during
Mufasa's death.
I think it's
Mufasa's death.
specifically like tragedy. Is that what the song's affiliated with?
They-
Because it's
yeah.
in the Clockwork Orange, which
It's in
was
the
also
Clockwork Orange, yeah.
because I saw side by side over like that he used it in the Clockwork Orange and then
exactly.
immediately in The Shining. Like I was like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense because it was both directed by the same person.
Of course, yeah.
Since you brought him up earlier, what else has he directed? Because you would know better than me then. That sound like
He directed Doctor Strangelove. He directed Full Metal Jacket, A Clockwork Orange.
Clockwork Orange, the one I was familiar with.
Yeah.
So, okay, no, I was just
yeah,
curious.
no,
There's a couple of his pieces off the top of your head. So
I want to say this. I feel like some of the shots were just. I don't know. I don't want to say unnecessary, but they were just like.
You better not say
they were-
unnecessary. You better not say accidental.
They were super
Everything
short.
he used.
A lot of scenes were super short, and they just kind of were there,
Yeah.
right? Like I remember just watching a scene. It's like, okay, like I get what this is gonna set up for later in the movie, and then they'll cut to a scene of Jack throwing a ball against the wall,
Sure.
and that was the whole scene.
yeah,
Right.
And then it'll go to a different scene. It's like, okay, I see where this is gonna set up for something later in the movie, and they'll do another scene. It's like a 30-second scene, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with the rest of the movie.
His cutaways are meant to be like off-putting,
Jarring,
and
off-putting.
just like what the heck, it's
Disorienting.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I got from it.
That's what it was. It was
Yeah.
meant to do that. On top of that, like people, because there's so many conspiracies, and we're not gonna dive too much into them. But like people are like saying, oh, the way he's throwing the ball looks like how he swing the axe. And I was like, I don't know, man. like,
Yeah,
maybe.
no. There's a documentary where it's like people they just dive straight into the controversies of this. Like, there's this dude that he plays the movie backwards, and then he plays the movie at normal speed, and then he overlaps that.
He's like, look, right in the middle, it has the same scene.
No, exactly. So
It's like,
so
yeah, you
in the
just play the same scene
Yeah, in the
reversed.
scene at the very end where you see him like zooming into the picture, it's the same scene where like the buggy is like going towards like it happens to be like on his face going up. So people are like, oh, like he did this on purpose, but it's like they're just going.
Yeah, it was just
they're
a cool
going
shot.
crazy.
Like,
Yeah,
the
it's
movie.
just going crazy. Yeah.
Do you happen to know how many movies were inspired by this? By The Shining?
Oh my God.
There's not I couldn't tell you an exact number. I just know that there makes a whole bunch of references and
Because one of them
American
that I thought,
Psycho.
one of
is
them
a
that I
good
thought
one.
would have been like inspired by it was Hereditary.
Yeah.
Because when they first go into the maze, they're just kind of in the maze, and then you see a miniature of it.
that was one of my favorite shots.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have Jack
'Cause he's
looking over them.
down. Yeah. It's like he's in the Overlook Hotel looking over.
Yeah,
Like he's
The
always
maze.
watching them, no matter where they're at. He's always watching.
And
them.
that's also another jarring scene where
I feel like that's a stretch. I feel like he was the most absent father in recent movies we've watched.
I know, yeah. But what I'm trying to say, like, you know, he was possessed at that point, meaning that wherever they go in the hotel, he was gonna find them
I wouldn't
one
say
way or another.
possessed so much as influenced, because that's kind of the whole thing of the hotel. The hotel's a character.
The hotel's
The hotel
is an entity.
Is a
yeah.
being. Yeah. That like doesn't have a whole lot of power by itself, and it's trying to make them turn on each other. That's kind of the idea.
But it's weird because like only Jack is the one who's affected by it.
I'm gonna get into that later.
Yeah.
'Cause
But the other thing I was thinking, so I don't know the order because it was based off a book, obviously.
yes.
Was
haven't
this
read the book, by the way.
inspired by the Amityville Horror?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Because that's what I got when they were talking about it later in the movie. Where they're like, oh yeah, like this guy went crazy and he killed his family and then
Yeah,
himself.
most definitely, yeah.
I was like, that sounds super familiar. And
The
then I was trying to see like, oh, like when did that happen? When did the book come out? When did the Amityville Horror movie come out? When did this come out?
The Amityville Horror came out in 78,
I mean, I can look it up,
Fact check.
but I know.
Look that up for me, Bobby.
This is why we pay you the big bucks.
No, but I know Stephen King was inspired to write this book based on his experience staying at I believe it was a Stanley Hotel. I gotta double check.
Yeah,
the name
the
of the
Stanley Hotel.
That's weird.
Him and his wife.
Why?
Because it's Stanley Hotel, but it's Stanley Kubrick who directed it.
I'm telling you, it's all connected, dude.
But he stayed in a hotel by himself, and they were closing for like the season.
Mm-hmm.
And him and his wife are like the only people there, besides maybe like a handful of staff and like maybe 2 other guests.
Mm-hmm.
So the eeriness of being in an empty hotel was what his inspiration was to write it. Most, if not, I say most of Stephen King's characters are authors because he kind of projects himself into the role.
Right.
He does that all the time with Misery and other things.
It was actually very late in the movie that he actually started writing anything. Like right off the bat, he's like, "Oh yeah, like I want some time alone. I want to start writing a book."
Starts playing with the ball.
I wrote this. I said back then, saying I was going to start writing a book was the equivalent of like saying, "Oh, I'm going to start a podcast." In today's time,
yeah, pretty much.
If you think about it. But I was like super late in the movie, and he starts typing or whatever, and because it's impossible to get away from spoilers from this movie, I knew what he was writing, but I was like, has he been writing that the whole time? So from the scene where you first see him typing, is that just what he's writing?
Yes. What people did, because remember, people like super analyze this movie.
Mm-hmm.
They paid attention to when he's
like
typing.
His hand movements, and they're like, oh, this is what he would be typing.
The sound, the sound of the keys. They're like, yeah, he's typing. He's literally typing that out during the scenes and segments where you see him, like the panning shots from behind of him typing. So I couldn't say exactly what point it was.
Is this a rumor or is this true? Did he actually have somebody type that out completely?
He had some,
times,
400 times?
Before we wrote it. 400 pages, I believe.
Different fonts, different. 79.
Yeah.
I was a year off.
But yeah. So when did this movie come out?
Mr. Film Major.
1980. So
like May 1980. Hold on.
Well, because how long does it take to produce a movie? Because
79. Oh, it doesn't say there. Oh, July 27.
But you also got to take into account the time that Stephen King was writing a book.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there was some
this movie.
But
hold on.
I don't remember hearing that at any point.
This movie was The Shining was being made when the Amityville Horror, the first one, came out in theaters. So.
But the Amityville Horror was based off true events, right?
Yeah.
So now I gotta look up when the book came out.
That's what I was kind of like trying to do it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Because I guess the event actually happened, right? Like
yeah. The event actually.
No,
happened.
I'm saying like for Stephen King to have like known about it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, he was well aware of that happening. When did the Shining book come out too?
That's what I'm looking right now.
But
there's the scene. So he finally starts typing.
Right.
And I was thinking like, oh, is that the same thing? And apparently. Sure. Yeah, that
1977.
Yeah. I mean, if you watch the Treehouse of Horror, it kind of spoils it for you a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But then I wrote right here, I was like, oh, like Wendy's a good wife and Jack's just like basically just a dick.
Yeah.
Or she's like, oh, hey, how's that book coming along? Like, like I know you're working on it. You hungry? Like, I'll bring in some sandwiches. He's like, hey.
F off.
Yeah. How about you go to hell and I'm gonna write my book.
Pretty much, dude.
And then I think shortly after that is when you first see the Kubrick stare, the infamous Kubrick stare.
Yep.
So
that's right off the bat. That's what Stephen King didn't like about the movie adaptation. Is his character in the book is meant to be more sympathetic. Like he's basically being influenced to do this. Where in the movie he comes off as an ass like immediately,
right? Yeah,
and it stays like that the whole time.
In the book, he's a family guy. Like he's like, oh, I love my family, I love this.
He is still a drunk, but like I don't know if you guys caught it, but they mentioned that he was sober for 3 years.
No, not 3 years.
No, yeah,
it was a couple months.
Yeah,
no, that's what I'm saying.
3 years?
Did you catch it?
Yeah.
So they thought he was sober for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
No, but this is what I'm gonna tell you. That's gonna like. Making more sense.
Huh.
He's been at the hotel for 5 months. He says, "Oh, first drink in 5 months."
Yeah.
Oh.
I caught that because I caught that because I was like, that's
so
weird.
this implies that
He's never been sober.
Not just that, but Jack may also have the shine. Because the way this is like a minor spoiler for Dr. Sleep because it's just lightly it's mentioned previously, but like not in the movie. Drinking can suppress your ability to shine, their ability to have the psychic abilities to see other stuff. So
I think any kind of substance can just,
Yeah, but like Danny eventually uses that to suppress his powers.
Oh yeah.
So it's like his dad started going mad at the 5 month mark.
Let's just say it runs in the family, okay?
Yeah. Well, no, yeah, that with a shine, because the same thing with the grandmother. Remember with Dick's character?
Oh yeah, Dick's grandma.
His grandma had the ability. Danny has the ability. It makes sense that his father would have the ability.
Yeah.
His father is being able to see these things slowly start to influence him, and he's now sober for the first time in 5 months because he's been stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
And then his typing out of no all work and no play makes Jack a doughboy. So it's like he's forced to be sober, and he's now easily more influenced by the hotel. That was something that I caught like way later. Like after
is The Shining, wouldn't that be more of like a defense against like influence?
It depends on what Jack's back like, because that it also, I guess I'm not gonna go too much in Dr. Sleep, but like because Danny is as strong as he is with his shine, he's able to do do whatever he like.
Danny couldn't do anything.
Well,
in
pretty
this
much.
one, yeah, because he's a child.
Tony was the MVP for this movie.
Also, that's another minor spoiler from the book. Is that Tony is Danny from the future?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You don't know that because this movie didn't really go into what the context of everyone is.
Yeah, because I was watching it, I was like, why is everybody psychic in this movie?
Yeah. So, and
Tony is pretty much like
it's older Danny.
Yeah, it's older Danny, just kind of like telepathically
trying to help him.
Yeah.
That's why he's like, don't go, don't go. And then he the idea that red rum came from the mirror, like he wrote it on the mirror, was that now this is all a theory from what I could tell, from what I saw online and what I was reading, was that like he can use mirrors. I didn't read the books, I wouldn't know. But like the idea is that mirrors are another dimension.
Right.
So when he writes it out, it comes out in reverse. Rum from a mirror. So that's how Tony's. That's how
in the movie, but in the movie they if you pay attention, there's a lot of mirror shots in the movie.
That's what I was. I was like, there's a lot of mirror shots in this movie. A lot of them are Jack is the focus of them.
Exactly.
And then there's a few occasions where they're just shot through a mirror.
Yeah.
I can't think of any examples other than like the bed and breakfast scene.
Right. When he just wakes up.
Mm-hmm.
But there's when
also, how bad did you feel when she was like, oh, it's really late. It's 11 a.m. And I was like, oh, damn, that's late for you guys.
11:30 when she left breakfast in bed.
Yeah, this is him being influenced by the hotel, and this is late for them. And I was like, waking up at 2 p.m.
Different time.
Yeah. I was like, what's influencing my life right now?
But when Jack starts getting mad and he's roaming through the hallways after he's accused of hurting Danny,
I thought he was gonna do the footloose dance.
Yeah. Well, when Danny had the marks on his neck, he like attacks every mirror as he's walking by it.
Yeah.
So his idea is like there's something with
you guys might know something about a theory about this. Did he do that, or was it
which part? Did do what?
The bruises on his neck.
No, I know theories, but do you know or?
He didn't do that. It was the lady in the.
Okay, because the first thing was like, he was like, "Oh, I want to go get my fire truck," and he goes up and he's like, "Hey, Danny, come here. I want to be a father for the first time in this movie."
Which is really, really uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah, it is.
Like, it's just really creepy.
Not
creepy, scary, but just creepy.
No, because Danny can sense that there's something off, and that's why he even asks him like, "You would never hurt us, right, Dad?" And he's like,
"No,
who said that?" Like,
no, not that. I'm saying because he had Danny like.
I'm saying even Danny picked up on it.
No, I know. I'm not saying like it's scary. I'm just saying like it's just creepy. Like, cause I get it. He's his father, Danny's his son, but he had him like here, and he was kind of like almost sniffing his hair and stuff. I'm like, dude, that's just. Weird.
I won't even get into it. There's another theory that like there was abuse in that relationship.
Oh yeah, there's some theories.
I'm not even gonna touch that because I don't want to.
Because pretty much she had the bruises or whatever, right? And then Wendy, Shelley Duvall's character is like, you did this to him, like I don't trust you, and like she leaves, and then
because that wasn't the first time that
there's so many theories.
Yeah,
but she comes back later. She comes back later, and she's like, hey, like there's an intruder, like Danny told me, like there's somebody in that room, 237. And then he goes, checks it out, and then he makes out with the ghost. That was another mirror shot.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So she was, you could say conventionally attractive, right?
I believe she was a model.
She was a model. Yeah, she was a model at that
so,
point.
She's pretty attractive.
Yeah, but the standards were lower back then. No, she was attractive. But then you see her in the mirror, and you kind of see her for what she is, decomposing and stuff.
Yeah,
and that scene is so iconic. That
she had a large Marge laugh. That's what I wrote down.
I just called it a cackle.
Yeah, I call it the witch laugh. She had a witch laugh. Yeah.
But we know what it means.
Yeah.
I mean that seems so notorious. They made it into Ready Player One. So like.
I know. I loved it. I loved it so much.
But then I was thinking, like, did she do that, or did he actually get that earlier?
It's left
well,
up to
look at this. As she's walking
so
towards him, do you notice that she's walking like this? She's walking towards him like
Oh
this.
yeah, when she's already an old.
Yeah,
hag,
when she's following him, she's walking like almost as if she wants to strangle him.
Yeah.
So that's what I caught. I'm like, yeah, it was her, because Danny was in that room. Obviously that lady is there too, and the whole point of that scene is for Wendy to blame Jack because he already has a past of hurting Danny.
Yeah.
Even if he didn't
Accidentally did it.
Yeah, even if he didn't do it, like it was a perfect thing to like blame him, even if he didn't do it.
Yeah, and kind of separate them even further.
Exactly.
It sucks is that there's so much that connects to everything you guys are saying. So like there's so many tangents.
So after that, you see the first sign of red rum.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Murder.
When he first writes it.
Yeah.
And then because I said, because it's impossible to avoid spoilers to this movie, like you already know what red rum is.
Yeah.
Of course.
But that's the first time you see it. You don't know what it really says until like way later in the movie.
Yeah. I mean, I saw it with like multiple people. I saw it with my girlfriend. I saw it with my sisters, and all of them right away. They're like, "Is that murder backwards?" I'm like, you're not supposed to guess that yet.
So, are those ghosts, or are they hallucinations?
They're ghosts. They're ghosts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, should I be using the book as the source material, or should I be using the movie as source material? That's what I'm like.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure. Well, because just we're talking about movies here. I
Yeah,
would say
but like
movies are probably the better source material for this.
But like, there's some direct answers to your questions. Like who the lady was in the room is answered in the book, never answered in the movie. Mm-hmm. Like that's because I don't know. Like the film takes the concepts and just kind of like
does its own thing.
For the longest time, I thought that the lady in the bathtub was actually
also attractive.
Gordy's. Is it Gordy's? No, Grady.
Grady's
is Grady's wife.
Oh, I get you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Later on, I saw the movie more times, and I was like, no, that makes no sense. No.
There's also like some things that pop up that just they're not explained. So I was like, okay, that's probably one of those things. Just
there's only one scene that pops up that I'm still hard trying to like understand. Like I'm like,
oh, I can probably answer it for you. Is it the one with the dog, dog mask?
Yeah,
exactly.
The only thing I wrote for the notes with that, I was like, really, like with the door open, like.
And it's so funny because they do the crash zoom.
Yeah,
as like something like shocking, and like and Wendy just like like, and then she runs away, and you're just there like, what the hell was that?
Yeah, they're just actually there. They're sharing the hotel.
Yeah, exactly.
To this day, I didn't understand it until recently.
But earlier I was saying, finish your thought, and I was gonna.
No, people think that scene implies that. Again, don't want to go too much into it, but that like it hints at Danny and the abuse between his father. Like that's the only reason why that scene exists. I have no idea why this scene exists. It's just, that's just a theory.
Scene, yeah.
So that scene is in the book too.
Is it? Mm-hmm. I did not know that because I haven't read the book, but I only know like bits side by side.
You want me to read? Like what's going on?
Yeah, but the idea is like because earlier in the film, Danny does a similar stance, like his head forward and then back like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like, oh, he meant for this to mean this, and why else would he have the scene in? Otherwise, the scene doesn't make any damn sense.
That sounds like a film major's interpretation of anything.
It really did, because like some of the other theories is like, oh, this movie's about like the Holocaust, or oh, this is Stanley Kubrick's Kubrick's
like assassination of the Native Americans.
His confession that he did the moon landing, and then there's the Native American bit, which I do believe that was his intention. And then there's so many. It's crazy.
Did you hear about the moon landing bit?
No.
I won't go too much into it.
It's pretty crazy, man. So you know how they say that the moon landing's fake, right?
Yes.
Well, it is.
Yeah. So the moon landing, obviously, 1969, 1968 was what's it called? What was that movie? I forgot.
Apollo 13.
Yeah.
No, stupid.
I thought it was.
Space Odyssey.
Space Odyssey. Right. Space Odyssey. Space Odyssey was released in 1968. Obviously, a whole year before the moon landing. And if you watch that movie now, you're like, this guy's seen how space works. Like everything in that movie looks so realistic, so good, so accurate. But at the time, no one has ever been to space at that time.
Yeah. Fun fact: if you actually watch the Space Odyssey in reverse, it's The Martian.
I don't think I've even seen the Space Odyssey.
No, but
that's the one with the monkeys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I got it here too.
I just warned you.
No, it's all good.
So I was gonna say that you guys know the term like the butler did it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the movie.
The butler did it.
Yeah, because he spills his drinks on him, and I don't know if that was intentional.
It was intentional.
No, where he spills the drinks on him and he goes, "Oh, like don't worry, like you got some on yourself too," and he like pats his back.
Yeah,
he just smears it all over.
That was
his back.
some passes, some aggression.
Yeah.
So
that part's hilarious.
Yeah,
so that part, so it was like, oh yeah, like the butler did it. It was like, oh, so he was the previous caretaker or whatever.
Yeah.
That was actually an ancestor of the previous character, of the person before.
No, he was the guy who killed his kids.
Grady, the butler. Grady, he was the previous caretaker.
Yeah, that's the previous caretaker. The other guy's name is Delbert. It's his ancestor. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a whole bit. I thought the same thing until I did the research, and I was like,
well, I've only seen the movie
I guess
once.
I'm following it off the movie. You went deeper into that.
I followed. Yes,
you know what? You know what threw me out of the movie?
What?
The hard R.
Oh yeah, Grady's a racist.
The hard end.
three times in a row.
Yeah,
Hard
I
end.
know.
And I was like, damn, I wasn't expecting that. And I was like, oh, wait, it is based off of a Stephen King book.
Also, it's supposed to be the 1920s, that time period that they're in. So it's like they would be racist.
That would be 19. Oh, I mean, yeah.
Well, during the
that part was
courtroom
1920s.
scene, I guess. But
I'm just mentioning it.
That's no
I forget
excuse.
that Stephen King always writes a racist in his book.
No, but you're also forgetting that Jack repeats it. You know, he repeats it with like even harder R.
Yeah.
You know,
They're trying to out-art themselves. In that
Yeah.
Also, Jack is.
And then there's also some casual racism in there. They're like, oh man, like the wife, she's horrible, you know.
Yeah, she's like the old sperm bank.
Yeah, the sperm bank. Yeah. Which I mean, like, it's just a cute pet name when I say it to my wife, but
my
God,
canceled.
Yeah. And then so after that, I was like, oh, like Dick to the rescue, right? Because he's like, hey, something's wrong. I'm gonna go over there. And then they kind of see what he's been writing, and I was like, oh, that's like the worst book ever.
Yeah.
And then I was saying like, because first I was like, I wasn't super into the acting in the movie.
I wasn't initially.
Like I was saying like there was a part with Shelley Duvall where she's talking over the radio.
Yeah,
I was like, that's like straight out of like the 1950s.
K9 to 1. What did she say? Like
yeah, you're right.
K1 to K
radio talk
2. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounded like very like 1950s. And then
that's just radio talk.
Yeah, and then when Jack was getting angry, I was like, okay, this is the best acting in the movie. And then when he was getting crazy, I was like, okay, this is the best acting in the movie.
Yeah.
But everything else was kind of like so in my opinion. I don't know if it's just a product of the times.
Let me ask you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, this is one of those things I knew before going into the movie because of just how how popular this movie was that like they filmed certain scenes a certain number of times to the point where they were like borderline abusing. They were abusing the actors. I know that's not even borderline. They were abusing the actors.
The most abusive one was
it was
Shelley Duvall.
Shelley
Duvall, and then what was it? We said Scatman, the one who played Dick.
Yeah.
Because they made him do that scene with Danny where he's explaining The Shine 148 times, right?
140 sometimes.
Yeah, some ridiculous amount of takes, and I think he has a Guinness World Record now.
Yeah.
I mean, they said it back then.
Same thing with the staircase scene with Wendy and Jack.
I didn't see the part. That's one of the things that preemptively made me judge this movie beforehand, because I knew that kind of abuse occurred, and so I already kind of went into the movie like, I really don't know if I'm gonna enjoy these scenes. And then watching the movie and then seeing the acting as it was playing out, I was like, was it worth?
Yeah.
Was it worth it?
Did you watch that movie? We're like, yeah, I'm glad they did 148 takes for this.
So get this, go
for it. Because that did bug me before I even saw the movie.
Yeah, and it bugs everybody because like Stanley Kubrick literally told everybody on set, like the most abused one.
Like poked her. Like,
the most abused one was Shelley Duvall. Stanley Kubrick told everybody on set, they're like, hey, don't talk to her. If she says hi to you, don't say nothing to her. If anything, give her a grim look. Make her feel uncomfortable every single day. Like, make her feel like she's not welcome here. You know? It's messed up. It's super messed up. And it's like, it's such a... Oh, man, I don't want to say, because I'm like...
It's like a stain on the movie.
I love Stanley Kubrick. Yeah, no, I love Stanley Kubrick because I'm like, his movies are so genius. But it's like, that's just like abusive in any sort of way. It doesn't matter if you're making a movie, you know, like that's like so abusive, and like
that's like forcing like method acting onto people.
Yeah, and it's like that scene where
she went to therapy after.
And she took a break from acting, dude.
Yeah,
for years.
With that in mind, it also like influenced how I viewed the movie initially.
Of course,
that's why watching it as an adult and like recently, I was like, okay. Like, as a movie, I still appreciate it, but, like, I still don't fully agree with a lot of the stuff in it.
Yeah, and it's like the first time I watched it, when I saw that staircase scene, I'm like, wow, because there were some scenes
she looks so tired in that scene.
Yeah, and it's like, there's some scenes in the beginning of the movie where, like, her acting is a little over the top, and you're like, it's a little over there. But then towards the end of the movie, you're like, wow, she's really acting like that's pretty good, you know. But in reality, it's because they're
tormenting her.
They're tormenting her. Like her eyes were all puffy from crying so much, and it's like you can see it in her face. You can see it.
Yeah, but then
It's
there was
sad,
like
man.
there was a few more scenes after where Dick like said, "Oh, something's wrong. I'm gonna go check in on him."
Mm-hmm.
There was like 5 or 6 more scenes after, and then he's still on his way, and I'm just like, "Oh, like Dick,
Yeah,
still to the rescue."
there,
Well, I like that. I like that because it's
it was
like,
like their only symbol of hope, and then as soon as he arrives,
Yeah. I
Yeah.
said,
this is like
what I
done.
said, he only shows up to die and to drop off an escape route.
Exactly. Yeah, and he in the original story in the book, he never died in the series. I guess he
Right.
helped them escape.
Mhm.
So then having to put him, because in Doctor Sleep he's still alive in the actual like book, so they had to figure out a way to put him in
Doctor Sleep.
Doctor Sleep, and they find a way, but
It's pretty
not-
good. It's pretty good.
not gonna go into
Yeah.
that, But yeah, that's a whole nother side tangent.
Yeah, so while they're all running, and we mentioned the dog scene or whatever,
Mhm.
can everyone see the ghost?
There's a point where like
yes, at that point.
yeah, there's a point where like the hotel kind of like reveals itself to you. The hotel can reveal to itself to anybody, you know. But obviously, it started revealing to Jack first, you know, because it was more attracted to him. I
It
feel
was
like
easier to manipulate.
yeah, because he was easily manipulated. So they're like, let's reveal ourselves to him first. Then he's gonna do our. Because I feel like the hotel or the ghost, like they're not harmful as
Some of
what's it
them
called?
are. Some of
Some
them
of them are, but like as Dick said, like he
Where
was
he's
telling.
like, "Oh, there's nothing in the hotel you should be afraid of."
Yeah, it's like pictures in a book.
I have yeah.
You know?
That's yeah.
Exactly.
You perfectly described it. Now the reason why everything goes active is because of Danny. Again, they hardly explain it. Danny's shine ability is so crazy powerful. Like it's dormant because he's a kid.
Yeah.
Right.
But because he goes there, it stirs up everything. That's why everything happens. It doesn't become clear in the movie, but that is the reason. And then it implies that that Jack has the shine, so then that's why he's like he's a weakened state of mind.
Exactly.
He's going through withdrawals from being off of alcohol. When you experience some form of psychosis from that.
Yeah.
So it's like he's the most vulnerable and the most easiest to influence. And then I love how they shout out Shelley Duvall's right Wendy. The actual hotel speaking through the ghost is like she's a lot stronger than we thought. Like she's a more powerful character than we was initially led on to believe.
And
I don't know if that was also just more like casual sexism where they're just like, oh, like this broad. Like,
maybe.
We'll get rid of her,
no,
we'll get rid of her super
yeah.
quick, and they're like, hey, we weren't expecting her to.
She fight back.
Yeah. And I was saying, like, how did she drag him to the walk-in cabinet?
Muscles.
She muscle,
She
dude.
is small.
And who knows how
Small
long
woman.
it took too,
I know the
because
same
like
thing when I
this,
watched it, I was like,
yeah,
damn, geez, adrenaline rush, I guess.
the scene like cuts out, and then the scene starts again when she's like still dragging him. So who knows how long it took her to drag him?
That was one of the most suspenseful scenes when he's waking up for me. Well, that was like one of my favorites because he's waking up. You're like, get him in the log.
I saw him like because he has like drool on his face.
Yeah,
and I
he's
was
just
like, I
knocked
haven't
out.
slept that well in
He's like,
so
what
long.
are they?
But when he's starting to wake up and starting to grab things, I was like, please just lock him in, hurry!
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Even when I was a teenager watching, I was like, damn, that scene was pretty good.
So a couple notes here, and then I have a few questions for you guys. So I said it was like such a big brain move for Danny to retrace his steps.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I wasn't. How old was Danny in this movie? Like,
I believe
5, 6,
I think he's 3 years old. 3 years before he
like 6,
dislocated. Yeah, like 6.
like 6. Yeah.
Because
6 years old?
he dislocates his
I don't
shoulders
know
3
how
years
you
ago.
guys were at 6. I wouldn't have been that smart. I'm just gonna take it up to Tony and say,
Yeah, well
like,
then again, I didn't have The
maybe.
Shining at 6, so
Yeah,
maybe that's a
how do you know?
that plays a big role, dude.
And then I was like,
Well, no, yeah, you're right. Like that was really smart of him. Like when I was watching,
I was
the
like,
people-
such a big brain move, and I said, oh yeah, they definitely
Yeah.
gave Jack the cold shoulder. and then I said, there's a fun group photo at the end. And then I said after, because I guess they've been in there for 5 months.
5 months, yeah.
Nobody looked at the photos.
No.
who knows? If
But
that
that's
photo was
actually-
even there at the time. 'Cause
That was his
yeah.
ancestor. That's a whole other thing. Because Jack's ancestor was part of like that 1920s. That's where they're like, oh, you've always been here?
Yeah.
He's a reincarnation of his past life. Like, again, whole other thing.
I will say this much. Did you like the movie completely? If you were just watch it as a movie.
Me
not with all
personally, who
these
you
extra-
asking? I'm letting him go
Both of you.
off.
Whoever,
He can go
whoever
off.
wants to go
Go
off.
ahead, you go first. 'Cause
Whoever
I have
like
a
just
lot
if
to
as a
say.
movie, without like having to do research, without having any prior knowledge, Would you be like, oh, this is a good movie?
For me personally, no. Me personally, I would have ranked it like in a 6. I actually, yeah, like a 6.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I know. I knew that going into it because I was gonna rewatch this movie knowing I knew what I knew about it. Yeah, what brought it down for me initially before even watching the movie is that I already knew a lot of the scenes. I already knew that the abuse occurred like between the actor and the director, and I was like, all right, like let's see what the hype's about. I watched it super slow. The soundtrack was on point. I was like,
I would say the soundtrack is the best part of the movie.
2.5 hours, and I was like, it didn't live up to the hype for me. I could see from a cinematic and a filmography perspective, like just the overall, like the art of filmmaking, it perfectly encapsulates that. I respect it in that regard, but as a movie, for my own personal preference, I don't like it as much as everyone else does. Dr. Sleep made me enjoy this movie significantly more.
Fake fan.
You know,
Fake fan.
Dr. Sleep or of The Shining?
Fake fan.
Fake fan.
Fake fan.
Doesn't like horror?
Fake fan.
No, Dr. Sleep made
put
me hyped for this movie. Like this movie, I feel it's a necessary watch because of Dr. Sleep.
I'm going to put Leo in the minority. I like the movie more than I thought I would.
Already a minority?
Yeah. Exactly. Get out of here.
Go for it.
I like the movie more than I thought I would, but I was really worried that I wouldn't like it as a lot because of I was like, is it just 40 years of hype?
I was worried you weren't gonna like it.
Like people who were like, oh, like this movie's like a masterpiece. This is the greatest horror movie ever made. This and that. It was fine. I think the soundtrack was the best part. Jack Nicholson had
his acting
was on point. Like I said, Shelley Duvall's acting was a little wonky.
Well, it wasn't acting.
It was acting.
It was wonky in the beginning because that was acting. It wasn't walking at the end because that wasn't acting.
Yeah. And then I was like, Danny's a kid.
He's a
kid.
He's
right?
Yeah.
So there wasn't really anything that like stuck out to me in the movie, other than like how weird the cuts were and like the soundtrack. I would still probably rate it maybe like a 7.5.
Oh my god.
For like a first time watcher.
I was hoping you were gonna elevate the movie further for me. With your reasoning.
I was like, I hope Leo explains stuff.
Like why he loves it.
I like it a lot.
And I did so much research that I was like, I respect it. I respect, but I'm also like,
I can talk hours about.
I can too
why
now.
I love, you know?
I heard you wrote a paper about this.
I wrote 3 on this.
I should shout out the channel that helped me do some of the research. Heavy Spoilers on YouTube. Check out their channel. They do a super crazy deep dive on each individual thing. So
you can probably link to them on the bottom.
They deserve.
Not that they're gonna get anything from us that they don't already.
Yeah.
The one extra view they get from our video. That's for you guys. You're welcome.
That.
And then the last question I was gonna ask before we wrap up: do you think this movie would be as successful with a modern remake?
No way.
Do you think a remake would work?
No.
I think the reason why this movie was so hyped up is because of all the conspiracy theories that other people made around it. That's why I think this movie elevated so much.
Think about it. You have Timothée Chalamet as Jack. You can have Tom Holland as Danny.
No, that's Danny. But no, I think
as Wendy.
Yeah. I think other people's viewing experiences and interpretations of it is what elevated the movie so much to the point where it became the cult classic it is, and that being Stephen King related. Go for it. That and also like a masterclass in cinematography. We already know yours, but go for it.
I mean, right off the bat, I'm extremely biased because like I see it as like, oh, the cinematography and this and that. But as a movie, I feel like it is a good movie alone because like you're focused in this one location with very few characters to focus on. So it's like for them to like make you care about these characters, like because
I would say there's maybe about like 4.5 characters in this movie
that have like main roles, and yeah, like 4 main characters in one location, and it's like for them to do like a 2.5 hour movie on that, and for it to like keep you like hooked, I feel like that's a good movie to begin with. And it also like ever since the first time that I watched it till like the last time that I watched it, I always noticed something different. Every single time that I watched it, I noticed something different. Whether it be like, oh, I never noticed how many mirror shots there are in the movie. I never noticed that. There's once, the what's it called, the tricycle scene.
Yeah, the first shot or the shot with the twins.
Or any of them.
The longest one. I don't remember which.
That's exactly. The right turn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
second one.
Second one?
There's
Before
so
he gets
the first one
like
felt really
there's so
long.
many scenes in this that it's like, was that intentional? Was that accidental? If you map out the hotel, because
You
they
can't map it out.
yeah,
It can't.
you
It
can
doesn't
map it
practically
out.
exist.
Exactly. Like everything, it's like it doesn't make sense because it's like when you think of like when they're walking doing the tour, right? You get a glimpse of like the study room where he writes the story. You get a glimpse of like where the kitchen is. You get a glimpse of where the gold room is. You know. So in your mental head, you're like,
What
okay.
if that's just bad set design?
That's what people.
No,
Some people
so
thought.
it could
maybe,
be,
no.
it could be,
Really is
but
what people thought.
it could also be like disorienting, you know, because
Like mess with your subconscious because
you're also
chairs will
lost.
disappear in the background.
You're also exactly,
and they're like, oh, was that intentional or was that accidental? But it's like it's
Exactly.
too obvious not to be intentional. Like
Or
I
he
said,
was too busy
but I didn't say
uh,
like go for it.
assaulting his workers to notice the backgrounds. Like,
if you notice
He,
the way
he's so maniacal that he would bother to make sure that it gets taken out.
if you notice the way Danny is going through the hotel, he makes a right here. He keeps going straight through
You
the
see
study
a
room.
balcony on the
Yeah.
left. He turns right, and then
He-
the balcony is like on the opposite, like the side it couldn't
He
exist
makes a
on.
left, goes into the hallway, passes the kitchen. He goes over here, and if you just write it all down, you're like, no, wait a minute, it doesn't make any sense because the kitchen was over here. If you would have turned left, you would have hit the gold room. You're like, no, that makes no sense.
There's,
You know what I mean?
there's some hallways the characters are walking through, and then they go into a room that there's no way for a window to exist. Yet you see the outside. You can
hey,
see.
where was that? Where was that place we went to? And
The Winchester house.
yeah,
Yeah,
is that any correlation?
it could be. I mean, the Winchester
Maybe.
house was being built. No, it was already built at that point. Yeah.
You know what we're talking about?
Yeah, I know the story.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
the real
I mean-
story, and I know the movie. So-
No, it could
yeah,
be.
the
Yeah.
Winchester.
But also one of the biggest things in the movie that I don't know whether to defend them or not because it was way too off-putting when you notice it to make it seem like that was intentional. When they drive up to the hotel, it's a different hotel than when they're running out into the maze, because when they're driving up to the hotel, there's no maze there. It's just a cliffside. And then when they're running out in the hotel, the maze is there. Like there's no cliffside.
just, like-
it's just a forest.
They shot on location for one day. Like, oh, let's just shoot over here because it's cheaper.
I
And
feel
they're
like they,
oh.
But no,
they
but
knew
that-
that they could get away with it.
But that's the thing. Like there's no
Because this
way
movie
because,
bombed in it when it first came out.
Yeah, but that's what doesn't make any sense because like if you see the behind the scenes of the movie, like Stanley Kubrick is like super intentional. Like you see him like, oh, I want to do this shot because like this shot will focus on his like what he
Yeah.
feels right now. Like when that scene where like Jack is inside the storage room trapped in there. There's a shot of him like the camera looking down on him. Like Stanley Kubrick was literally down him like, yeah, I like this shot. Like I want to shoot it like this because it
He
shows.
just kept
and
reshooting
it
until he
shows,
got
yeah,
exactly
it
what
shows
he
how
imagined and what he
intimidating
wanted.
you are from this point. Like everything seems so intentional. So for them to shoot that side of the hotel, they do like an entire view of the hotel. You know, so you see the mountainside.
Because of
there's
that. They
no
want you to feel
maze.
the isolation. They want you to feel the dread.
Yeah,
of, like,
but then
no hope.
Yeah,
is
and then when they
coming.
show the hotel on the outside when they're running out, the maze is there. So it's like, I don't know whether because they had to know.
I'm sure some film major has a conspiracy.
They
about
do.
it.
They do.
There's
They
so
do.
many.
There's so many. There's so many.
So just it's like fan fiction. Just read until you find a satisfying.
Like the
conclusion.
moon, like the moon landing thing. Like I didn't even.
No, but that was real.
What is it? One of the things I want to mention is like I think didn't Shelley Duvall get, or was it the director who got like a Razzie for this movie, like back when this came out?
Oh, I think
It was
I don't remember.
it was up for like the award.
I don't
of,
think
like,
they won it, but yeah, it was up for like a Razzie.
Yeah, like imagine
No,
going through
I don't
all
think,
that
I don't think
effort.
Razzies were.
Nah, I'll look it up later.
Yeah,
but I'm
okay.
like, if
I'll
I
look it
find
up,
it, it'll
yeah.
be a clip on the
Oh yeah.
on the channel.
No, people hated this movie mainly because it was like.
Well,
I don't know.
that's what I'm saying. I feel like the interpretations, the many interpretations, is what made this inflate so much.
Yeah.
But also that's what makes it an interesting movie to watch.
I mean, technically, it could have been one of the first nominations. The Razzie started in 1981,
Oh, it could be the first nomination. You're right.
so that's
Look
unfortunate.
Up,
for them.
look up
Yeah.
Razzie nominations 1981. It had to be on there.
So it's crazy, right?
No, yeah, it's pretty crazy. But
Again, there's so much more to talk about this movie, but we can't fit it all in this video. So
so much more.
I want to find out about the Razzie though.
It probably is. Like he
I
probably.
think I heard about this from.
There's no way Shelley
Soundflex when I
Duvall.
was watching one of their videos. Well, when I was watching this video like years ago.
Yeah, there's no way Shelley Duvall is gonna get a Razzie for worst acting. Like her acting wasn't the best in the beginning.
I don't know if it was The Shining that got it or it was her acting. I don't know.
I will say this much: there's no winning. This is just showing me the winners. I don't see anything based off.
Like I said, it'll be
okay,
there.
Fine. It's fine. Okay, so let's give it a rating. I gave it a 9 out of 10, man.
Where's the other point? That's your favorite movie.
The dog scene.
The dog scene?
I didn't like that
That
scene.
was hot.
So that's why.
I like that a lot.
That's my point right there.
Whatever.
If you say anything below a 7,
I was literally gonna like
6.9.
6.5.
What's wrong with you?
6.5 or like a 7. Like I'll push for a 7 because of how much I love it, but I think it's a 6.5.
Fake fan.
Yeah, it's a 6.5, but after watching Dr. Sleep, it's like a 7.5.
Oh no, yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna say 7.5. 7.5, like bordering 8. It was an interesting movie, but I think if you just watch it without any prior knowledge, it's
without any prior knowledge, it would bump it down for me. With all the knowledge and everything, that's why I haven't even like bumped at all.
Think of it like this, dude. When I saw it for the first time, Dr. Sleep wasn't even like announced yet.
Yeah, I didn't like the movie in as much until I saw Dr.
I know,
Sleep.
and I didn't even know there was a book. So when I found out they were making a...
That's your fault for not doing research.
No, I know. But I was so obsessed with this movie when I found out they were making Dr. Sleep, and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna make... It's gonna be a direct sequel to Kubrick's Shining. And I was like, there's no way. You can't do that. Like, there's no way. And they're like, we're gonna make it the best we can to like,
appease both fans.
Yeah, to appease both. And I was like, you can't.
For some people didn't. For a lot, some people did. So
everybody's a critic.
So yeah, I'm curious as to what I think you're gonna like this next one.
I'm a huge Shining fan, Kubrick Shining, right?
Yes.
And I was so against
the sequel.
The sequel. I was so against it. I was like, how dare they say that they're gonna make a sequel
to the perfect movie?
Not only were they gonna make a sequel to the book, because they were gonna it's gonna be a sequel to the book, but also a sequel to like Stanley Kubrick's Shining. And I was like, those are two separate things.
And it was directed by the same people who directed It.
No, it was directed by Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, they did It 1 and 2. Part 1 and Part 2.
No, it was Andy Muschietti. Andy Muschietti and Barbara Muschietti.
I'm pretty sure it was.
I mean, he's the movie guy.
We don't got time to fact check.
No, yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
You don't understand.
We can squeeze in 3 more minutes. No, but
the GoPro's
I can say
on fire. We still gotta wrap it up.
Bursts in the flames.
I can say that I approve of Dr. Sleep. I approve it 100%.
We might be overhyping it, so you should probably be like, shit, it's garbage.
I'm pretty good at watching things objectively.
It's not
other people's judgment.
It's not like a crazy successor. Like, oh my god, this is so much better.
I didn't watch Dr. Sleep because I found out it was a Shining sequel, and I was like, I'm good.
I saw it in theaters.
And then I was like, and then I didn't later on. I was like, it's a Shining sequel. Oh, is it like
cool? I guess.
Yeah, and I was like, I'll watch it eventually. I watched it, and I was like, damn, I missed out not watching this in theaters.
Well, join us next time when we watch Dr. Sleep, because that's just how we're gonna do it.
Why not?
Let's do it.
All right. Anything else you guys want to add before we go? I think we're at our time limit.
Yeah.
I really like this movie. I'm really disappointed with your guys' scores.
Well, you know what? I don't think we were ever friends to begin with, so I think it's probably the end of the podcast.
That's why you're the other guy. All right.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Love you guys. Bye.